Welcome back, Rock Raiders. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and today we're going to tackle the structure with the biggest footprint, the aptly named Super Teleport. Serving as the station responsible for transporting down the most advanced Rock Raiders machinery, the Super Teleport is the apex of Rock Raiders HQ. Only the most established bases will contain a Super Teleport, but hopefully today we can learn how to build one for ourselves. Because this video series seeks to cover buildings and vehicles exclusively found in the Rock Raiders PC game, we sometimes have to take a look at the design history surrounding these models. Many of these designs were altered throughout development as gameplay needs were tweaked, and the Super Teleport is no exception. As far as we can tell, the Super Teleport began its life as an upgrade to what was then called the Teleportation Pad. The development of LEGO Rock Raiders was subject to intense feature creep, and the state of the game that was documented in July of 1998 shows a much more robust upgrade system compared to the retail release. Several buildings and vehicles would have their models and functions radically changed as the player would purchase upgrades in-game. The teleportation pad was one such building. This one had 3 levels of functionality, each with a corresponding physical design. The first, the basic teleport, was described as consisting of the basic corner unit from Futura's model, alongside 3 corner pylons. Futura was the name of the design team at LEGO who developed Rock Raiders, and the module in question here is more than likely the teleport pad section from the Rock Raiders HQ set. Ultimately, this is basically the design direction they took with the structure, as physically, the Super Teleport is little more than a teleport pad with a couple of extra pylons.
You must construct additional pylons.
This design document from 1998 describes larger and larger pylons for each upgrade level, but without any corresponding images, we'll simply have to speculate at their appearance. The specificity of 3 pylons is interesting to me, indicating that the teleport pad module was supposed to occupy one of the corners originally, perhaps an orientation something like this. Upgrade level 2, called the intermediate teleport, allowed the player to bring down medium vehicles from the LMS Explorer. The concept of medium vehicles was culled before release, but initially the loader dozer, granite grinder, and small mobile laser cutter all fell under this jurisdiction, albeit with alternate names. The final upgrade, the advanced teleport, gave the player access to the large vehicles we all know and love. Essentially, this is the function that the Super Teleport embodies in-game, and its genesis was likely sprung from here. When it comes to reverse engineering the build, the high-quality render that we have to work with honestly shows us everything we need to see. There's very little doubt to be had with the pieces being used here. It really is just a teleport pad with a couple of pylons. What I find interesting, though, is that the render would suggest that the pylons and other elements from the teleport pad exist on the same plane. What we see in-game, though, is a teleport pad placed on top of a foundation containing the pylons. Why the discrepancy? And which one is more correct? Well, the in-game model actually just reuses assets from the teleport pad. It saves on time and memory space to simply plop the teleport pad on top of another model, and that's basically what they did. That being said, when we look at the list of priorities that have guided our reasoning throughout this series, we can affirm that the high-quality renders take priority above all else. If we follow this logic, then the components of the Super Teleport should all exist on the same plane with each other. However, that also means that the components of the Super Teleport should all just sit loosely next to each other, as they don't seem to be connected to anything. Unlike the other buildings in the series, the Super Teleport was rendered without any foundation, leaving us with a very unsatisfying final product. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and earnestly recommend that you just place these elements next to each other and call it a day, so let's attach them to something secure. A 12 by 24 dark gray brick from the Rock Raiders HQ set works quite nicely for this purpose, centering the build without too much wasted space. Okay, with that, I think we're ready to start building. The Super Teleport comes together in a really satisfying way. The central pad has obvious roots in the Rock Raiders retail sets, and I especially love how the auxiliary pylons maintain that design language. They're constructed with Rock Raiders parts through and through, and I think they demonstrate that simple builds can still be effective. Despite nearly a decade of dark turquoise being back in style at the LEGO Group, these two particular pieces remain exclusive to the Rock Raiders series. You'll need 4 of the small ones and 11 of the big ones to build the Super Teleport, and the lack of modern equivalency might make that a tall order. Beyond that, 4 yellow hoses, especially of the period-correct mold variety, will be challenging to track down. Adding to this difficulty is the printed arrow piece at the base of the teleport pad, which actually made its final appearance back in the Rock Raiders HQ. This won't be an issue if you already have that set though, as you're likely to borrow many of the pieces you'll need from it anyways. In fact, I think there's a strong case to be made for preferring the way that the Super Teleport appears in-game. That is, a teleport pad placed on top of a foundation containing the pylons. Since I'm such an overachiever, I've created step-by-step instructions for that build as well.
Well done! Mission complete!
Alright, that was pretty easy. If we're going to try to channel the in-game look of this structure though, there are a few more details to consider. Along the back of the structure, there seems to be some additional printing and tile work. 4 more hazard stripe tiles and another arrow piece will help this build match the in-game model. You may also want to consider rebasing the structure. I put mine on 4 8x16 bricks in order to create more space on all sides. Additionally, the texture files seem to show some visual elements that went unused in the final game. This file, Floor Front, seems to show what the power paths in front of the structure might have once looked like. Using some faint reflections in the texture itself, we can find the correct alignment with the model. It's an interesting oddity, though I'm not sure what the best approach to realizing it in brick form would be. I might leave this one up to your imagination. Regardless of which version you choose to pursue, I think both do a great job in adding some visual character to Rock Raiders HQ. The structure is instantly recognizable for anyone familiar with the PC game, and the model looks great next to any of the large vehicles. I'd call this one a winner. There's still one more thing to look at though. Contained within some of the files from DDI was a render entitled Teleport Center. This curious structure shares some obvious similarities to the Super Teleport, but lacks any semblance of the teleport pad element. It's unclear how this model fits into the evolution of the Super Teleport, but that didn't stop us from trying to reverse engineer it anyways. Just like the main build for this video, the render here doesn't leave much to the imagination. Besides the unique raised surface and oversized arrow tile, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. The raised platform that the structure rests upon can be constructed using several dark gray 2x2x3 slope bricks. Aside from the quantity needed, there's really no problem here. Because of the advent of modern tile pieces, the large 4x4 arrow can actually be brick built. I think this is a pretty cool solution to a problem that was likely created through digital trickery. And, to the surprise of no one, I decided to physically construct this model too. With a 32x32 footprint, this is by far the biggest teleport structure in the Rock Raiders arsenal. It requires 56 dark gray 2x2x3 slope bricks to build, completely taxing my supply. The corner pieces are actually the worst offenders here. You'll need 4 of them, and as luck would have it, that exact number appeared in precisely one set, 7184 Trade Federation MTT. I figured that LEGO Star Wars borrowed so much from Rock Raiders, it was time for some recompensation. The parts I needed are actually set exclusive in this color, so I guess I'll have to return them when I'm done. Now, I hear you asking, did Slugger really buy a LEGO set just to pilfer parts for this video? The answer is no. I bought 2. Because the brick-built arrow tile required modern pieces, I actually didn't have what I needed on tap, so I picked up a copy of 60487 Yellow Taxi. As you can imagine, I stole what I needed and junked the rest. The final result is a physical model that I didn't expect to like. It's a pretty wasteful build, and doesn't serve any immediately obvious function. What good is a teleport center that puts a chrome crusher on top of a spire it can't descend? That's when I decided to try something. I had recently built a tunnel transport during a live stream and still had it sitting nearby. Placing it on the teleport center revealed something remarkable. This platform is a perfect landing pad for the tunnel transport. Really, perfect is the word for it. The forward pylons act as a buffer for the landing gear, while the hazard stripe tiles prevent the tunnel transport from rolling back into the aft pylons. It's actually hard to imagine a more perfect landing pad for the tunnel transport, so I kind of doubt this was unintentional. Maybe this structure was originally required in order to teleport down this massive vehicle. It's anyone's guess, really, but the raised platform does lend itself uniquely well to the tunnel transport specifically. You could always build it on a regular 32x32 base plate in order to service the other large vehicles as well, though. We don't talk about the PlayStation game much in this series, but the Super Teleport does feature a pretty ornate landing pad in front of it. For anyone who has 48 spare hazard stripe prints just lying around, knock yourself out. For me, though, I think I've done enough damage here. With the Super Teleport up and running, we can finally teleport down the last 2 large vehicles. Thanks for watching, everyone. I've been your host, RR Slugger, and I'll see you next time for some more high adventure deep underground.